there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
This is John Logan Parsons III from Immerser, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I am your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father. And as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. And I want to thank each and every single one of you out there who's watching now and who come back to watch the replay. Before we get into the interview, I just want to say that I'm very, very deeply hurt and saddened of the passing of Joey Jordison, the mighty Slipknot, and Vimic. Joey was a musician that who was just absolutely wonderful. I mean, if you couldn't appreciate his music and things like that, especially being a drummer, plus he was a guitarist, I think in the Murder Dolls, you just, I don't know, you just don't have appreciation for music. You know what I mean? So without further ado, we're going to move on, but condolences to Joey's family, and we lost one hell of a musician. It's been crazy this week because we lost Jeff LaBar last week of Cinderella. Now we lose Joey Jordison, and last night we lose Mike Howe from Metal Church. This is insane, so insane. So I just want to pay a little bit of a homage and tribute to those guys. So without further ado, we'll move on. So I want to welcome Mr. John Logan Parsons, the third of Immerser. A hard rock solo project. Immerser has released the official music video for Transmute, produced and engineered by Kane Churko at the Hideout Studio in Las Vegas, Nevada. Transmute is the debut single, written and performed by John himself. So, John, welcome to the show. And again, man, I'm sorry to do a little intro there to those guys, but I thought it was well needed too.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And yeah, it's a bummer. I really thought he was an incredible drummer, and I remember the first time I heard Slipknot, it was just insane. I'd never heard anything like that. I've listened to some really heavy stuff too, and it was just the amount of energy in it, and it's like that was mostly the drums. So, sad, but
yeah, those guys, man, the first time, if anybody saw them for the very first time, on the self-titled album and the jumpsuits and masks and stuff, they did everything for you that need to be said or do from keeping you going to jail. So, yeah. So, how you been doing, and how excited are you to release your debut single, Transmute, man? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. I'm just, enjoying life and just working hard, and the single is doing really great. So I'm pretty excited about that, and everything is good. So I can't complain.
Did you find yourself doing anything differently other than working on music during the pandemic? Did you do anything other than focus on music?
Well, I mean, I worked through the whole thing. So like I was out there on the front line, just, it was pretty weird at first because there was like absolutely nobody around, it was just kind of weird. It was like something out of a sci-fi movie or something, I'd be driving down the street and there was just nobody out. In a way it was kind of nice because there wasn't any traffic, and, the air quality was better and the animals were kind of coming out a little bit. So it was kind of a weird experience, but no, man, I mean, I pretty much stayed, I just worked full time through the whole thing, and just, my pattern didn't really change too much, as far as that goes. So, I'm kind of lucky in that way, I guess,
You're right, man. When that hit and everything got locked down, it's like a horror movie. It's kind of like, you're driving around, like you said, it's so silent. It's like, where's everybody at? To see those photos of like 2 weeks change, 3 weeks change. It's incredible. And you're right, man. It's like everything. It's like Mother Nature had to heal herself, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, we kind of gave the earth a little bit of a break. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of interesting. You can see how much impact we have all over the world, like on a daily basis, you know. But the good thing is that you can see that it doesn't take very long for things to kind of go back to the being, you know, healthy, and you know, the planet regenerates itself. So hopefully that's kind of a good sign, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I hope we can move on, but I know COVID's still around, so
yeah,
who knows, man, what's coming down the pipe. So hopefully good things. Yeah. How many songs do you have written so far, or are you still working on songs at this time?
Well, I mean, I've been performing and recording for 3 decades, so got quite a few songs. I've been in bands my whole life. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start, man. I've released like probably 7 full-length albums, 2 EPs, and probably, I don't know, 10 singles. And Immerser is kind of a newer thing for me. It's you know, a solo project, so it's a newer sort of thing for me. And I think with Immerser, I've got 2 EPs and I think like 10 singles or something. So I've been doing this for quite a bit. So there's quite a big catalog out there. You know, I think that this is kind of Transmute is probably the first song I've really pushed really hard, you know, to get exposure. It's kind of a little different for me. So that's probably why it seems like, oh, here's this guy, he's brand new, but I've been around for quite a while. So, you know.
Well, yeah, right. But what I was meaning was like, how many songs do you have right now? Is on like a new EP or full length coming up? Or is this a one-off song, or is this going to be on an upcoming EP or album?
Now, this is a one-off single. I have a lot more material to come, but I'm kind of doing, you know, releasing singles at the moment. Like, I don't know when I would be doing a full-length album again. It's a lot to do. So I don't know if I have the capacity right now to do that, you know?
So, wow, that's wild to hear. Because, I mean, and because a lot of people's that way now, and a lot of people don't want to do the full lengths, but why do you want to go the EP route? Is it just for like short attention span? Because, I mean, you put something out there real quick and like 2 weeks later, it's like, so when you come out with something else, I'm like, oh my God, really?
Yeah, I think with Immerser, I just, you know, the EP to me is like, it's, you know, 5 or 6 songs or whatever. And it's,
sure,
I don't know. I don't have patience. I'm very impatient. So it's hard for me to kind of put something like 20 songs together or whatever, you know, like it's just easier for me. It's a lot cheaper too, right? To get, you know, because if you're going to get something mastered and things like that, it's expensive. So it's, you know, 5 songs, you're still releasing something substantial, you know, but it's not so expensive that you can't pay for it on your own, right? Like, so there's that aspect of it too. But yeah, I think for, you know, just for the time being and probably for the foreseeable future, I'll just be doing singles for a while.
So after you get like enough singles out, is that when you're going to go back and say, hey, let's just do an EP and throw them all on there? Because I mean, you know, John 5 did the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I haven't really thought about that. I don't know if I would put them all together on one EP or not, or just leave them as singles. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know, at some point, I'm sure down the line, I'll do another full length album or do an EP or something. But I'm digging like being able to kind of jump around a lot. You know what I mean? Like with a single, you can kind of, like if you put out an album, the expectation is that the whole album has a particular sound to it, a particular genre, a particular feel. Whereas like with singles, you can kind of jump around a little bit. So, you know, Transmute is kind of a, you know, hard rock sort of song. So, you know, maybe next time my next single will be like something even heavier, like, you know, or something more chill, you know. I have that freedom to do that with singles. So, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of a good way to actually explore what you want to do besides just saying, you know, just staying to like, well, this album's going to be about mystery or this album's going to be like horror, whatever. I get that. That's cool. Yeah, you don't have to stay in one little certain spot for the album. Good deal.
Right. Yeah.
Were you a little nervous at all though, releasing this single right now?
No, not at all. Like yeah, no, I had no issues with that. Like, why would I be nervous? What are you referring to?
Well, like since bands can't really tour right now, or
I see, yeah.
other than like live stream.
No, man, not really. Like, I don't perform live anymore right now because I mean, it's a solo project, right? So I'm playing all the instruments, so it'd be hard for me to do that live, so I'd have to get a band together to tour and stuff. But like I've never really been. I mean, the recording and releasing process and the writing process for me is like that's what I enjoy. You know what I mean? That's the part of it that I really like. So, it didn't impact that aspect of it at all. But and I'm also blessed that I have a career outside of music, so I can still pay my bills and stuff, right? So it would be a different story if I was touring in order to make ends meet, then it would be devastating. And like I've seen a lot of my friends are in bands and stuff, and like it has not been a good year. So
oh yeah. So was Transmute brought on by the pandemic? Was this song brought on by that or no?
No, not directly. No, it's not directly related to that. But I mean, as far as the writing goes and recording and all that, it had nothing to do with that. But I mean, the lyrical content can be, utilized in any sort of way where there's something negative that you want to turn into a positive, or you try to transmute a situation as you're changing a situation into something better. So I think in a way, maybe it came out at the right time, right? Because it's a song about positive change. It's a song about not giving up. It's a song that deals with, like pain and psychological pain and things like that, and being able to transmute those things into something better. So, maybe that song would give somebody, strength in a time of insecurity. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it was a good thing that it came out at this time. So I did release an EP right before Transmute, a few months before, called Prepare for the Fall. And that was more geared towards the energies that were going on around the pandemic and just feeling like it's kind of the end of the world, so there's some tracks on there that kind of are more capture that feeling. But Transmute is definitely, I think, a positive song. You know what I mean?
I want to say this, and I don't mean this in a bad or negative way whatsoever, but with musicians and bands right now during the pandemic, everybody's on an even playing field, I think, versus say like, last year before last, or even back in the 80s and 90s. Now it's on an even playing field for, people that like local bands and stuff. They're on an even playing field now, which I think is cool. And I hate that we had to go through the pandemic, but I think this is where we're going to see some diamonds in the rough, if that makes sense, coming out of this.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, like sometimes things have to fall apart before they can be rebuilt the way that they're supposed to be. Right. Or anytime something breaks down, you can kind of take a look at it and remove, impurities from it, or things that were hindering its growth, or whatever it is. And I mean, just in general, like I think that things are, on one hand, they're worse for independent artists because you're not able to really make a living unless you're like touring like crazy and selling millions or streaming just billions of streams, because you literally get like a fraction of a cent.
Sure.
Anytime somebody streams your song. So it's kind of lame. But on the other hand, you're able to reach more people independently than you ever could before, right? Like you could reach millions of people with the push of a button, and that's so it kind of has, it really depends on what you're in it for. Like for me, I'm not in it for money. So I'm in it for just being an artist and expressing things. And for me, what's important is that, the most people as possible could hear my music. You know what I mean? That's my, that's what I'm interested in. Like the financial part of it, I don't care. You know what I mean? So like for me, it's kind of cool because right, whatever. I mean, I'd be writing music anyways. I'd be releasing music anyways because I'm a musician. That's what I do. It's in my blood. It's like breathing to me. So cool. Like I don't get paid for it, whatever. But if I get a couple bucks or whatever, or you know what I mean, that's cool too. Like for me, that aspect of it doesn't really matter. You know, what matters to me is just, you know, making the best music I can and you know, having as many people hear it as possible. Right. So
Transmute was produced and engineered by Kane Churko at the Hideout Studio in Las Vegas, Nevada. How was working with Kane on this, man?
that was amazing. Kane is an amazingly talented producer. He's like such a sweet guy. He's just an incredible dude. And I had a wonderful time doing this. And this was my first time working with a producer. So it was kind of a new experience for me. And I'm glad that I went that route with Kane, because I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if it was anybody else, you know, because Kane is really, really creative and down to earth, and just he's a freaking genius, man. Like, so I felt really confident. And I knew, you know, with our combined creativity, we'd come up with something really cool. So I'm really, really happy. And, you know, the studio that I worked at was or worked with Kane at is called the Hideout, and it's in Las Vegas, and it's an amazing studio, super awesome. Like, you know, it was just a blast, man. Everything was great about it. There's nothing negative about it. I can't complain at all.
It's crazy how Vegas is now like the new LA. You know, everything's happening in Vegas now. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah, for sure.
It's like, you know, Nashville now is like the new LA too, because everybody's moving to Nashville. I'm like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah, it is weird. It's kind of weird. I mean, I think over time that kind of stuff just happens, right? Like, you know, the center of culture sort of shifts throughout geographical regions, you know what I mean? Like, I think it used to be California for a very long time, but all of the creative people can't live there anymore because it's too expensive. So you know, whatever. So the culture there is kind of dead. You know, and I actually grew up in California, and I lived there my entire life, and then I moved to Denver, Colorado. Well, I moved to Aurora, which is right outside Denver, Colorado, and you know, Colorado feels more creative and more open to arts and more kind of the way California used to be. So I feel more at home here than I do in my own home, you know?
So working with Kane though, did he get something out of you that maybe somebody else might not have gotten possibly? Did he push you to not push you to your limits, but worked you on this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kane like I said, I don't think it would have happened this way with anybody else. You know what I mean? Like, I trust him a lot. You know, he's a really good person. He's authentic, and I'm a good people reader, and you know, I trust him completely. And so just that trust in who he is and his philosophy made it very easy, and I wasn't defensive at all or anything like that. But yeah, no, he works very hard, and he does push. He pushed me. I mean, like, you know, I don't know, you know, it's just, you know, like doing vocals and stuff. He's real adamant about getting that take, that really great take, you know, like, so, you know, I would repeat things, you know, just as many times as necessary to get whatever it was he was looking for. You know what I mean? Like, to me as the artist, I'm like, oh, well, that take sounds like the last take, right? But as a producer, they're looking for something specific to their ear, and you just kind of have to trust that process. So yeah, he worked me hard, but I mean, I came to the table with, you know, most of the material kind of there, you know what I mean? So it was pretty much just taking what I had and the inspiration that I was bringing, and then, you know, kind of channeling that into a clearer sort of presentation of it, right? Like taking sort of what I had and then sort of amplifying it and making it clearer, you know, my vision kind of. So
who did the artwork for the single?
Actually, I don't, a good friend did it, and you know, they work with Kane. So I worked with them. You know, I kind of wanted something simple and punchy, but and something that popped, but because usually when I do cover art, I'll do it myself, you know, and I just felt like this just had such a very clean and cut and like just precise. The song itself is really punchy and just straight to the point, you know. So I wanted the artwork to be the same way. So it's just, Transmute, and it's got the lettering in the red, black and white, or red, white, and black, and color scheme going on. Just that, that's a reference to the song. And it looks really clean and cool. So I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I appreciate all the hard work that that person put into helping it look as good as it does. So
now I know you've done this for a long time, but do you still see yourself musically growing and pushing yourself outside that box to maybe add something else that you've not done before or want to eventually add down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's pretty much the whole reason why I looked into getting a producer, you know what I mean? Because I wanted to try something different. I wanted to push myself in new directions, and I'm still on that kick, man. Like, I think I'm more open now than I've ever been musically, and I think a lot of it has to do with the culture shift in music too, where like, when I was growing up, like, and first getting into bands and stuff, like, there was very specific genres, and you would, those lines were drawn, man. Like if you were a grunge band, then you were a grunge band, right? You didn't do anything outside of that. If you were a metal band, you did metal. If you were a death metal band, you did that. Like, you know what I mean? If you were R&B or you were rap, you did that. And I think like through the 2000s kind of time, sort of those lines started to blur a little bit with some of the rap rock stuff and electronic stuff. And then now it's just like free for all, like whatever, you have like, when people say hard rock now, it's like, really? Like, it sounds like R&B with like some distorted guitars, I mean, it doesn't, and maybe an EDM like too, like it's just a weird world, like, but it's cool because, as an artist, as a musician, like I appreciate all types of music, right? Like I get inspiration from everything. So it's cool to be able to have the freedom and to be able to express myself in that way. Like if I want to write a metal song, but it has like some funk elements to it or surf elements or whatever, you know what I mean? Like whatever the song calls for.
Some Grand Funk Railroad. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, man. So like, I think we're in a really cool time, for expression. And I think it's just going to get better and better, like, as we move forward. So I'm excited about it.
I'm going to say this and people are going to think I'm absolutely crazy, but you're a musician. You'll get this when I say this. It's cool now that you hear all these different flavors of music, but it's always been there. But now it just seems like it's more prominent. You know what I'm saying? It's like, where's this being? But it's always been there.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, like I said, I think more people are being more creative with it. You know what I mean? There's more people that are, trying new things, just because they can, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's more out there, you know what I mean? And I think people, we've kind of done it, right? I mean, we've done rock, we've done rap, you know what I mean? It's like, how far can you push certain things, right? So then it becomes, well, now we gotta kind of merge genres together, right, in order to keep making it interesting. So, that might be part of it.
I would say like bluegrass and metal, but we got Hayseed Dixie that's out there who does their stuff. So
right, yeah. Well, I mean, even like if you listen to like, I mean, you know who Zach Wilde is, right?
No, never heard of that guy before.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
Yeah, like so, but I mean, he was doing like back in the day. There's a project he did called Pride and Glory.
Oh yeah, he had banjos in it.
Yeah, man. Like, so that's, to me, I'm like, okay, well, bluegrass metal right there, boom, done. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's, so it is out there, man. It's just a matter of what I guess is popular right now,
It's like I've had this conversation before, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I've even brought this up before. If Zach Wilde can take a freaking banjo and put it in a metal song, limitations, man, are just out the door.
Yeah, and I think there's always been artists that have always kind of pushed that envelope. You know what I mean? It's like, and the weird thing is a lot of them aren't really understood or appreciated in the moment because they're way ahead of their time. Like if you look at like David Bowie, right? Like totally weird. Like at the time you're like, what is this? But then you listen to like some of his later stuff now, you're like, wow, that dude was like light years ahead of everybody else in the music business. Or Radiohead was another one too. Like when they did Kid A, OK Computer, like all, it was like what, but it was so far ahead of their time. And like, you know, so there's that too, that element of like, you know, sometimes people are just ahead of the game. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, like you said, you've had a lot of singles, a lot of EPs out that's been out. But for you, John, is there one EP or just one song that says that's me, that defines me, possibly? And I know these are your babies, man. I understand that.
Yeah.
But is there one just specific for you, or an EP for you?
Yeah, man, I can't. I mean, that's like an impossible question. I don't know. I mean, I think that, you know, every sort of people have eras in their lives, right? So for me, maybe when I was, you know, younger or whatever, something may have represented me, whereas now something else represents me as a person. But I mean, every song I've ever put out is an aspect of myself, right? Like you know, they all are different pieces of my experience or my reality, or, you know, feelings I've had and stuff. So, you know, I mean, I don't know. I can't. I mean, yeah, I can't answer that. I mean, that's some of my favorite like stuff I've done. Like, I was in a band called Delusia for a while, and that's Deilusia. It was a band I was in for many years, and you know, there's an EP called Sycorax that I really liked, that we did, and then. Yeah, man, I think, you know, Transmute is awesome too. You know, that's a really wonderful song. And I think it speaks to kind of where I'm at now in my life and what kind of philosophy I have now. But yeah, man, I can't there's no way I could just choose one. I have like, you know, like a catalog of like almost 1,000 songs. So I couldn't choose, you know what I mean?
What do you hope everyone takes away, or message you hope they hear while listening to this new single or any of your music in general? Man, what do you hope they get from it at all?
I think that what I'm trying to get across is just like, you're not alone, dude. Like you know, if you've been through hurt, you've been through pain, maybe you've been through some traumatic stuff, like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people out there that have been through the same. And like, you know, if you can learn to find the lesson within that painful experience, you can use it as a stepping stone instead of something that's holding you back or you know, keeping you from growing or moving forward. And like, you know, so this song is about that. This song is about transmuting, you know, yourself, your experience, you know, because it all starts within you. Like how, you know, your mind is an amazing thing, and how you think really impacts your physical world. So, you know, if you can change your thinking, then you can have an impact on your physical, your existence, you know what I mean? And you can impact others. And that's kind of the idea, is that, you know, once you've kind of learned to find that lesson and you've grown from it, then you would pass that on to the next person, you know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of, so for me, my inspiration is to inspire others.
I love how musicians, you know, when they create their own music, it's basically, it's their voice, you know, it's their anger. It's their everything that they're putting out there. And it's so cool how somebody else can grasp onto that and take that, man, for wholeheartedness and what they want it to say for them, right. You know, and it's just so cool how what you meant to put out, someone else takes it a different way. And it sometimes saves them, man. Sometimes it does.
Well, I think that's the whole idea, is that, you know, when you put music out there, it's no longer yours, right? It's you're taking a part of yourself, you know, and you're manifesting it out into the world, and you're kind of like, okay, here you go. Like, it's not, you know, it's not yours anymore, right? It's belongs to whoever's listening to it, you know, and that's the thing too, is that, like, you know, what one song might mean to somebody, it might mean something completely different to somebody else. So, you know, and I don't think there is a real wrong, there's no way to interpret a song wrongly. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make sense, right? Mm-hmm. You know, it is what it is to you, and that's really all that matters, you know? So I totally agree with you, man.
What made you want to become a musician? What was that spark for you that possibly said, yeah, I want to try that?
I just born this way, you know, like I've always been a musician. It's just in me. I had a very musical father. He was a guitarist and he was very creative. He was a screenwriter and a cartoonist and just, you know, really creative guy. And he passed away when I was 4. And so in order for me to kind of stay or have some sort of relationship with him still in my mind, you know, was through picking up the guitar at a really young age. I started playing when I was about 8 and, you know, never put it down. And so I think, you know, music is just, for me, it's the way that I'm able to express myself the best. You know what I mean? It just feels right. You know what I mean? It just, I don't know how to explain it, man. Like it just felt right. You know, like some people just, they find what it is they're supposed to do. You know what I mean? And for me, it's just music, man. That's who I am.
Do you feel like though your dad's with you when you're creating this music though? He's there to help you in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I would totally say that. Like, there's always that piece, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have the gift that I have if it wasn't for him shining through me, right? Like, I mean, so, you know, in a way he's not gone, right? Because I mean, you know, he's still with me or whatever, you know?
Exactly.
But yeah, so totally, man. Like I constantly, you know, I think about him a lot. I still, you know, in my my little studio here, I got a couple pictures of him and stuff. And I've got a 1964 Jazzmaster that belonged to my father.
Oh, nice.
Pretty cool guitar. Yeah. So I still play that once in a while. And I play it on a couple, I've recorded with it a few times and stuff. So yeah, man, of course, dude. Like,
yeah, I got you. I lost my dad. I think it'll be 23 years this November.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's never gone. There's not a day it goes by I don't think about him. Somehow, some way, you know.
I get it, dude. Trust me, I get it.
So do you have a go-to album that you still go back to this day, possibly, that you try to find inspiration in, or that you have to go back and listen to every now and again, just for you personally?
I mean, there's quite a few. I can't say that there's just one really. I go back to, you know, Far Beyond Driven by Pantera a lot. That's been just, you know, it's just been a staple, I guess, in my musical life. Pretty much anything by Pantera, really. You know, Sepultura, Chaos AD is another one that I've listened to many times, like throughout my life. I mean, there's so many, man. Like the first White Zombie album.
Oh, nice.
Devil's Music. Yeah, that's amazing.
Sunshine.
Yeah, exactly. Like the original, Portrait of an American Family, the first Marilyn Manson album, is really, really awesome. That had a huge impact on me when I was a kid. You know, and then there's stuff like the Downward Spiral, you know, the Fragile, Nine Inch Nails stuff. Allison Chains.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of Allison Chains, you know, Nirvana. I mean, like I could go on and on and on, you know, David Bowie. Like I love David Bowie. I love the Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, the movie, the soundtrack of that, you know, the live performance. I actually like the live performance better than I like the album songs. So yeah, man, it's endless. I could go on for days. I mean,
I totally understand. I get it. And yeah. I want to talk about this just for a little bit, because you mentioned White Zombie's very first debut album. Yeah. So simple, but so damn good.
So good.
Yeah. I mean, that album is just,
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Everything about it. It's amazing. Like the guitar playing on that album is freaking insane. Like the guitar player's name is Jay. I forget his last name, but damn, man, that is some amazing stuff. Like his rhythms are insane. Like, and his tone too, like the guitar tone on that album is killer. It's like, it's really punchy, but it's still very warm. It's not like super brittle and trebly. Like it's just, oh man. And like, yeah, that whole album is just awesome. It's like groovy. It's like groove.
Yeah.
metal, funk, like horror, freaking like, dude. And like that album, it's like, that's one of those albums. I mean, it's probably like this for a lot of albums, but it's one of those albums where like the louder it is, the better it is. It's just like, I cannot play that album loud enough, man. Like, so yeah.
And two, man, if you don't have an appreciation for Sean's bass playing on that, oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, that bass is so deep. It punches you in the face, dude.
Yeah.
Man.
That's another example of, they were a little bit ahead of their time too, because like, that first album has like, or it's their first major label release, but like it has like all these really crazy samples in it too, like all these movie clips from movies and just weird stuff. And like that wasn't, you didn't really hear too much of that in outside of hip hop and stuff at that time. Like, so they really tapped into something. And now like everybody uses samples or sound clips or triggers and stuff like that. So, and even in their second album, was even more electronic, you know what I mean? I think that was still a little bit, ahead of their time. So yeah, that album's awesome.
John, how can folks stay in touch with you, get out and purchase this new single that you have out, buy some merchandise, tour dates, all this good stuff when you get on tour, or if you do, how can they do that, sir?
Well, the name of the project, my solo project, is Immerser. And that's IMMERSER. And you can, you can look me up on Google or pretty much anywhere, any social media platform, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And the song Transmute is available on, I think, pretty much every major digital music store. I mean, iTunes and Spotify and, everywhere. So it's not too hard to find, man.
And before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for my show?
I would love to do a promo for your show. This is John Logan Parsons III from Immerser, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour Podcast. Get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and our YouTube link. You definitely want to subscribe to the YouTube link because we got a lot of stuff that we're going to be giving away, especially tickets to Alice Cooper and Ace Frehley, two rock icons, man, at the Appalachian Wireless Arena here in Pikeville, Kentucky. So all you got to do is just subscribe and like, folks, and just watch and see. Just follow the Facebook page. You'll see how simple it is to enter and win. Also, please get out and check out John Logan Parsons III and pick up his new single, Transmute. Give this guy a fair share. He's got a lot of stuff out there, and you won't be disappointed. So, John, I wish you nothing but the best of luck, and thank you for doing the interview, sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate you giving a voice to independent artists. So thank you.
That's not a problem. That's what I'm here for, sir. I know it's like I've said many moons that if I reach just one person for a band, I've done my job.
Awesome.
There's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Man, this stuff rocks.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.